My dear viewers, in this one video I am going to tell you about 3 important news. Watch these 3 news without missing a beat so that you will get a comprehensive picture of these news in no time. Israel surrounds Gaza City. U.S. pushes for humanitarian pauses. In the ongoing conflict, Israel has declared it has encircled Gaza City, a major target in its campaign against Hamas. Meanwhile, the U.S. is urging Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to agree to localized humanitarian pauses in the fighting to allow aid into the besieged Palestinian enclave. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken is heading to the region to discuss ways to minimize harm to civilians in Gaza. The White House insists that any ceasefire should be temporary and localized, emphasizing Israel's right to self-defense. The rising casualties among Palestinian civilians and severe shortages of essential supplies have prompted global leaders to call for a ceasefire. However, Israel has rejected these calls, arguing that it is targeting Hamas militants who hide among the civilian population. Gaza health authorities report over 9,000 people killed since the conflict began, while a group of UN experts has warned of a grave risk of genocide. Israel disputes these numbers, and the U.S. is exploring the idea of multiple pauses in the fighting to facilitate aid delivery and ensure the safe release of hostages. The situation has garnered international attention, with the UAE warning of escalating tensions in the Middle East and the risk of extremist groups exploiting the situation. As the conflict continues, Hamas fighters are using tunnels to launch attacks, making the situation more complex. The U.S. is also flying drones over Gaza to aid in locating hostages. The situation remains highly volatile and complex, with international efforts focused on mitigating civilian suffering and finding a path toward peace. Anyway, friends, let's move on to the next news. China and Russia criticize U.S. at Beijing Defense Forum. In a significant development, Chinese and Russian military leaders directed criticism toward the United States during a security forum in Beijing. This comes as China's second-highest military commander expressed a commitment to strengthening defense ties with Washington. The lack of regular military communications between the U.S. and China has raised concerns, given rising tensions and the potential for accidental clashes in areas like the South China Sea and near Taiwan. The Shanshan Forum, a major military diplomacy event in China, began without its defense minister but with the presence of a U.S. delegation. Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu warned of the grave danger posed by the West's involvement in the Ukraine conflict, emphasizing the risk of a direct military clash between nuclear powers. China's vice chairman of the Central Military Commission, Zhang Youxia, criticized some countries for trying to undermine China's government while stressing the need to improve military ties with the U.S. Zhang held talks with Shoigu during the forum, highlighting the desire for cooperation. The U.S. participation is seen as crucial, especially as the United States and China increase exchanges in anticipation of an upcoming summit between Presidents Biden and Xi. However, while discussions about improving military ties have occurred, there is no sign of a softer stance on issues like Taiwan, which remains a core interest for China. Despite calls for cooperation, this forum highlights the ongoing geopolitical tensions among major world powers. Anyway, friends, let's move on to the next news. Concerns rise over AI's impact on misinformation in 2024 presidential election. As the 2024 presidential election approaches, there is growing apprehension about the potential role of artificial intelligence, AI, in amplifying misinformation. A recent poll from the Associated Press and ORC Center for Public Affairs Research and the University of Chicago Harris School of Public Policy reveals that nearly 6 in 10 adults, 58%, in the U.S. believe that AI tools, with their capacity to target political audiences, create persuasive messages, and generate realistic fake images and videos, will contribute to the spread of false and misleading information during the upcoming elections. This concern is bipartisan, with both Republicans and Democrats agreeing that the use of AI in creating false media for political ads, manipulating images or videos, tailoring ads to individual voters, or answering voter questions via chatbots is undesirable. Notably, AI has already been deployed in political campaigns, such as the use of AI-generated imagery in ads and AI voice cloning for narration. While Americans express skepticism about AI-generated content's reliability, they also see a shared responsibility for tech companies, the news media, social media platforms, and the federal government to prevent AI-generated false or misleading information in the 2024 elections. Regulations on AI are generally favored, and President Biden has already initiated guidelines for AI development and content labeling. As the influence of AI in politics and elections continues to grow, there is a pressing need to address concerns related to misinformation and its potential impact on the democratic process.